Hello YouTube. It is a hot summer night. The air conditioning in my house is out and we're waiting on the HVAC guys to fix it. And I got a bunch of cool stuff in the mail today. So we're going to take a look at upgrading a retro computer, and then we'll probably hook it up to the retro phone system and dial up the internet with it. Say hello to the patient. A PowerBook Wallstreet. This is the first generation Wallstreet made in Ireland, which has been upgraded with a second generation Wallstreet 300 megahertz processor card. Let's turn it on, take a look at it. And we'll see how how snappy and everything it is. Today we're going to be upgrading it to a 500 megahertz Sonnet Encore upgrade. We're also adding an additional 128 megabytes of RAM. It currently has 384. We're going to be moving up to the system maximum of 512. And this long black screen here, I'm told, has something to do with the fact that the pram battery is missing. The pram battery is under the top case and necessitates taking the entire computer apart to replace, so I have not yet gotten to it. One interesting feature of this particular computer is that I have the original 25-year-old battery in it that still works. I have a CD module. This has removable modules. You kind of pull out this little flap right here and it would eject. And on top of all of that, I was on eBay and I was bored, and that's always a mistake. And I found a VST zip module for it. So now I can read my giant stack of zip disks, which is actually sort of kind of handy. Anyway, system is starting up now. One of the other things we're going to be doing tonight is upgrading from a spinning rust hard drive to a solid state drive through means of an adapter, and I will get to that in a minute. This laptop is running OS 9.2.2. So we'll take a look at the Apple System Profiler and some other things, and we'll go from there. Alright, so taking a look, you can see our 384 megabytes of memory, Mac OS 9.2.2. Let's take a look at the System Profiler now. One megabyte of backside level 2 cache, 300 megahertz PowerPC G3. So what we're hoping to see on a clean install of Mac OS is 500 megahertz and 512 megs of memory. So I guess it's about time to get started. And I was telling you about a solid state disk. So this is a parallel ATA to SATA SSD. Now, this is what came in the laptop when I bought it. However, it stopped wanting to write, so I'm assuming that it reached the end of its life. These older OSs do not have trim support and are consequently kind of tough on things. But this is also kind of a Chinesium brand. The one that I've bought to replace it is a Transcend, it's all made in China, but at least I feel like this one might be a little bit higher quality. So one of the things we're going to have to do is tear into the laptop in order to get to work on it. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So one of the things we're going to have to do is prep the laptop for install. I'm installing the zip module in the left bay and the CD-ROM in the right bay, so that hopefully the OS 9 installer will install zip drivers appropriate for this PowerBook. The other thing that we're going to do is put an Orinoco Gold card in it, if it'll fit. We might struggle with that. Reason being is this will install the airport drivers. Then the next thing and most important thing that we need to put in it is a USB card, so that it installs USB drivers appropriate for OS 9. And you can see with CARD bus cards, this is kind of a big problem. So I don't know, probably not going to be able to do airport. But we definitely have got to do USB. And the only other thing that we've got is we've got our ADB mouse, which we'll use during setup. And of course this is the only PowerBook to support hot plugging ADB. We do have a FireWire card, so it might be interesting to install that and let OS 9 detect that there is a FireWire. Some of the other stuff that we have this really cool Farallon network adapter. The trouble with it is it only supports a BNC coaxial terminated network, so I don't have the dongle for 10 base T, and consequently this really won't be of any help to us. So anyway, let's go ahead and power off our PowerBook here, because we need to perform some surgery. And let's see how best to start that. So before we start our surgery, I'm going to go ahead and prep this SSD for installation so that we don't have too many loose screws floating around. Lord knows I have enough of those. Now, unfortunately, I left my good iFixit kit at work, so I am stuck with this Chinesium crap. And I say crap not because it's Chinesium, but because you put a bit in and there's nothing to hold it in, so it's kind of a pain in the butt to work with this thing. But we can at least get started and do something with it. So let's crack open our SSD. Kids doing this at home, make sure you wear a grounding strap so that you don't fry any delicate electronics. And let's make sure I got the camera position. Let's get our screws off of here. You can see how obnoxious that is. Let's try to do this where you guys can see what the heck I'm doing. Not the easiest thing in the world, and I'm not a big camera guy. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. A little tiny mounting screw. Two little mounting screws. Let's take a look at what we've got here. So this is a Zano, whatever a Zano is. And that's what makes me think maybe it just kind of gave out. Doesn't appear to be any data manufacturer. Looks like maybe possibly 2020 for quality control. Anyway, let's go ahead and install our Transcend. Whoops. Need to watch what I'm doing and not the camera. I'm going to get these screws put in and I'll get right back to you guys. Alright, so we've got the new Transcend installed on this parallel ATA to M-SATA SSD adapter. Already I like it because the chips are up, so there's maybe a better chance of heat dissipation. Alright, so let's take a look at the patient here. I'm going to have to move some stuff out of the way. Stuff we won't need until later. Now, step one, when disassembling Wallstreet, we're going to have to remove the modules. I know I just put them in, but we're removing them. We'll just set them out of the way here. Next up, inside the bay is two tabs. We're going to pull those tabs. You'll see the keyboard kind of pop up a little bit. Just sort of hook our fingers under here, ease it down, and flip it over. And this little bit of ribbon cable, we'll just take the stress off of that. There we go. You guys are going to be getting kind of a side-eye view here. Okay, so we have now gained entry to the inside of the PowerBook. We have a couple things we got to do here. We got to make sure we have the right screwdriver bit. One of these is kind of a fat screw, and it will strip if you don't have the right one. It's not the right one. That. tray. There's one you won't be able to see. It's right here. It's a long one. Obnoxious screwdriver a bit. Gonna end up shorting something one of these days. Alright, now I'm going to grasp this little hook. Just kind of ease up on it. There's that long screw. These are the CPU cooler pads. If any of you know something to do to rejuvenate those, let me know. I'm almost have attempted to replace it with Arctic Silver or something, but I'm afraid it wouldn't make a good contact. Anyway, set that out of the way. Now, what we're looking at, we have the power management and modem and sound card, I believe, are all one here. We have a hard drive bay. That's the actual processor under that little disk, and then this is the top side memory. There's a memory DIMM underneath, and then this is looking into the card bus bay where the card bus cards go. So with that in mind, we have a couple screws, maybe one here. I believe, just make sure. Should sort of lift out. There we go. There's our spinning rest hard drive. And that screw is captive, so we don't have to worry about losing it. We'll just sort of ease this out of its enclosure. Free, and we're good to go. So while we're here, look for the correct pins. Looks like we're good. So this guy will slide into the assembly, matching the missing pin there. And we don't have to worry about it flopping around because it doesn't weigh anything. It's directly pinned in. So, hard drive upgrade complete. Now here's the pièce de résistance, as Bugs Bunny would say. Okay, I have been informed that I say so too much. With that in mind, let's move on. We've got the processor card here, and we need to remove it. To do that, we are going to need a security Torx bit, I think is what they call that. Too big. Still too big. Just right. Actually, I'm thinking we may not need to do that after all. I'm going to try to apply a small amount of upward pressure here. I'm going to use a tool to disengage the safety interlock for this memory DIMM. Yeah, so there are no screws holding it down. So in theory, don't try this at home unless you know what you're doing. There we go. I should be able to ease the processor card out of the machine. And here is our other 256 megabyte DIMM. We'll release the safety interlocks. remove that because we are going to need it in a minute. Let's take a look. We've got our interface here, memory interface here, PowerPC processor is under this disk, which is threaded and unscrews. We're not going to mess with that right now. Overall, looks to be in pretty good shape. So we'll go ahead and reinsert the 128 megabyte module because we're not going to be using this. What we are going to be using, this is the other 128 module from the 500 megahertz processor, and then this is a 128 module that was on the back side of it. I'm not going to be using these either. So this came from eBay. Let's take a look. This is a Sonnet 500 megahertz, 1 megabyte Crescendo G3, and I ordered this 256 megabyte DIMM on eBay, so we will not be using any of the 128s. Very similar look on the other side, maybe a little cleaner. Love that Sonnet logo right there. Curious. Oh look, that just unthreads very easily. Well, this one may not be threaded, it may be snapped in. So I'm not going to mess with that. I'd hate to break something. These are extremely hard to come by, and I paid entirely too much for this one. Let's go ahead and insert our 256 megabyte module. Lock it into the interlocks. There we go. And I have to get it in here on the left side first. There we go. And that went in cleanly. Very happy there. So, reassembly will be the opposite, obviously, of disassembly. And we'll just make sure that that's well seated. Here's our hard drive interface. Apple computer, 1998. I don't know if you can see that. Just ease this in where we don't damage any keyboard stuff. Make sure it lines up. Pop it in. I think we can use the fat screwdriver for this one. And I'm wrong, we cannot. So we'll switch to the medium. Get this in there finger tight. Don't need to go crazy on it. Now we will reapply the heat spreader. I really do wish there's something we could do for that to make it more effective. I'm very tempted to do some Arctic Silver, but I don't know. Oh, there's an Apple part number, July 1998, 6 July 1998. Even though this was made in Ireland, it was very nearly born on the 4th of July. It's a bad joke. All right, moving along. Insert this to where it needs to go. Very carefully. Screws back where they belong. tuck keyboard in very carefully. You don't want to break any ribbon cables. Something doesn't want to fit. Oh, there we go. Alright. Nice and locked in. So now we got to worry about reinstallation. So we're going to reinstall all of our modules and our PCM CIA card bus adapters. We'll go ahead and get zip drive in there, CD-ROM in here, and we definitely want USB support to be pre-installed. So we will put this one in the top slot, lock it in. I really wish we could get our Orinoco Gold in there, but I really just don't see that that's going to happen without damaging something. So, what the heck, we'll just go ahead and do the FireWire card. It will be nice to have FireWire drivers built into the OS. Okay, let's apply, look at the back here. I'm going to plug in the ADB mouse. Let's go ahead and apply power. PMU should bring the unit up since the pram battery is dead. And we just need an OS 922 install disk, so I will be right back. Okay. Decided we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to try to install 3 different operating systems on here, just for the heck of it. Starting with Mac OS 8.6, and then Mac OS 9, and then eventually Tiger. We're going to see if we can get OS 10 Tiger. First of all, let's see what happens when we turn it on, if we blow it up or not. Well, we got a good startup sound. That's great. If everything works, we should get a blinking file folder icon. Okay. Not bad. Open the CD tray and see if we can get... I have a lot of trouble with these burned discs, so we'll see if we can get it to boot 8.6. lot of just a-waiting. I can feel it trying to access the CD drive. It's spinning up. And it is rejecting the disk. So, if I want 8.6 on here, I'm going to have to do it a slightly more complicated way, which requires a little bit more hardware. So let me get a couple of things, and I'll be back here in a minute. Okay, so what we've done here is, since this PowerBook supports the, I think it's SDI 30 connector for SCSI or small computer system interface connections, I've attached a SCSI CD-ROM with the macOS 8.6 CD. I'm going to boot from the macOS 9 CD. I'm going to create 3 partitions, one for 8.6, one for 9, and then one which will later be for Tiger. And you can actually install macOS 8 from within the macOS 9 environment without having to restart from or boot from the CD or anything like that. So that's what we're going to do here to force it to install 8.6. So let's see how successful we are. Alright, we are now starting the OS 9.2 installation environment, which is booting off of the internal CD-ROM drive. I'll check back in with you once it gets loaded up. Okay. For whatever reason, it is not showing the disk for macOS 8.6. However, if we go into drive setup, it's clearly showing that there is a SCSI CD drive attached. So I don't know what's going on there. But so we'll have to create a couple of different partitions and install 8.6 later. So let's get to work. First of all, need to initialize that SSD. We're going to do 3 partitions. The first one going to be 7 gigabytes. Next one after that, we're going to do let's see, we're going to do 20 gigabytes OS 9, and then the one after that for Tiger can just be huge. Let's see what we get. Okay, so I'm going to verify them. That's our 7 gig, 20 gig, and 95 gig. So we'll name them accordingly. And we're off to the races. Go ahead and close out a drive setup and do our macOS install. This is going to take 20 or 30 minutes, so once we get going, I'm going to turn off the recording and I'll have to come back and check on you guys here in a little bit. Just make sure it's got what it needs. It's got airport, that's good. And the rest of that stuff, so here we go. It actually says it'll take 12 minutes. You know, it might go quicker with that SSD, but either way, I will check back in as soon as it's done. Okay, folks, installation is complete, and we've got all our icons and everything over here. So one thing I forgot to do was see the about this computer. Definitely we have the right memory, 512 megabytes, very good. And I don't think we can see the Apple System Profiler, but I'm sure it will say 500 megahertz. Anyway, we are good to go now. So let's go to our startup disk. sure we select OS 9.2. And I'm going to look at one more thing here. Not seeing it what I wanted to see. So let's go ahead and restart into our newly installed operating system. Go. Alright, now we can go to the system profiler. And we've got USB support built in, that's good. It's very good. Feels snappier than before as well, I should add. Of course, we don't have as many extensions on there, but 500 megahertz PowerPC G3, so we have upgraded it. And looking pretty good all around. Very happy. So we have successfully upgraded this old PowerBook. I'm going to work on some of the operating system stuff. Maybe that'll be a different video. I don't want to bore you. There's already long stretches as it is. Now we just got to do a lot of quality of life stuff that I like to do. One thing is we need to give it some pizzazz. Nah, that's a little too much pizzazz. Yikes. Well, here we go. Flower power. Take a look. There we go. That's not bad. Give it window shade, some sounds. Everything looks good here. And we'll go ahead, eject that CD. So for some reason it's not seeing the SCSI disk. I don't know what that's all about. So we'll have to figure that out. One thing we do have to do, because this is actually macOS 9.2.1, is we need to get the macOS 9.2.2 installer. And it looks like we actually have airport support, which is good. We're going to go ahead and kick the USB out of the system. Let's pop all these out. Let's plug our Orinoco Gold card in. And we should see airport appear very shortly on the control strip. There it is. Look at that. We can now connect to my legacy airport router. Okay, got airport working. I guess I just was typing the password wrong or something. So we are ready now to reinstall applications and such, which actually won't be terribly difficult. because I'm going to take this old IDE hard drive and plug it in via USB and just pull everything off from it back onto the SSD. So that has been our successful upgrade for the month, I guess. I'm sorry I don't make more of these, but with a baby it's kind of hard to find the time. So please leave me a comment if you enjoyed it. Other than that, thank you very much for watching.